Well, howdy, howdy, Miss Halston.
Let's go for a walk on the Rainbow Trail.
Oh no, the last time you forgot the umbrellas and got us into a whole heap of trouble.
I won't forget this time. Let's go. Oh my, those sirens. I feel stormy weather moving in.
Girl, that ain't men it's raining. That's sequins and stones.
And we ain't got no umbrella. We better run.
Glad we had each other to weather the rainbows. Howdy, y'all, and welcome back from a very long break. I'm your host, Kurtis Sunset, and this is...
we haven't done this.
Forget how to do this.
I wasn't sure if I was supposed to say my name or the title. Okay, let's try it again. Act 2.
Act 2. Howdy, y'all. I'm Kurtis Sunset, and this is Weathering Rainbows. I'm your host, Kurtis Sunset.
And I'm Leah Halston.
I'm definitely leaving the whole blooper on that for this episode. So they got two versions of the opener there.
Right.
So it has been a hot minute. As you could tell, it's been a bit, like 2 months, honestly, since we've actually posted. Nothing really, just, life takes you in different places, and we've been busy as all get out the past couple months. So what else been going on with you, Leah?
Let's see. We had Pride, and another Pride, and I'm still working. I'm still in the long journey road for foster care. I'm still doing paperwork. It's such a long process with this. I didn't know that, but it's definitely a long journey, and I'm in it for the long haul, but it's taken a long time. So outside of that, working, still at play, still at the hospital. Things are great. That's what I've been doing.
How was Halloween for you this year?
I forgot about Halloween. Halloween was good. As you all know, I am not a Halloween girl. I don't do all that spooky stuff. I celebrate it, but I just don't get it, like, forced performance wise. My Halloween, what I thought was Halloween was, according from Michael J, was cosplay. So, I do a lot of Princess Tiana. I did Storm from X-Men. I think my only scary Halloween number that I do during Halloween is Evanescence, Bring Me to Life. And I'm just glamorous. So, but Halloween was great. Glamorous. It was busy. Yeah, it was busy at the bar. We made money. So it was a good time. I'm glad it's over, though.
Yeah. Yeah,
what about you?
I can imagine.
I think I saw you like
5 days in a row.
Yeah, I saw you like once.
I think you've seen me like 2 times total this whole break, honestly.
Yeah.
I have been just busy.
Yeah.
But I came up for my birthday for a hot second.
And saw you once.
And we had a rootin' tootin' cowboy. Yeah.
Oh my God, yes. And we took a very good, very adorable picture. One of my favorite pictures, actually.
Yeah. Although I look about 12 years old in that picture for some reason. We got those little cowboy hats and everything, so I look 12. Yeah. But yeah, it was probably one of my favorite birthdays, honestly. We just had a good time. And then Halloween, of course, I came up for that. This year I was Dadcula. So that was kind of fun because, I'm not a dad, so I can pretend to be one, I think. I don't know. But yeah, overall, it was a fun October, I think. And then now we are in November, holiday season. Have you put up your tree yet?
I haven't, but I am, when I get back from, by this time, vacation, I think I'm going to pull it out this year. I haven't pulled it out since. That don't sound like pulling it out, huh? I haven't. Let's clarify that. I haven't pulled out my tree since 2018, I think. So it's time. I have a Dallas Cowboy theme tree.
Oh my goodness! Of course you do. Well, you've got to put it up this year. I went way early and started putting up like Christmas decorations. Literally, don't tell a lot of people, but like before Halloween even got here, because it's just been a year. Like I am tired, and I just wanted to put up festive stuff. So all my Christmas decorations are up at my office, and I am like excited for Christmas. I'm just ready for 2022 to be passed.
See, I'm not a
2023 to start.
Yeah, I'm not a Christmas girl either. Like seriously, I don't know. I'm not a Grinch. I'm very generous during the Christmas holidays, but I'm just not a Christmas girl either. You know, I guess that's why I haven't put the last time I had my tree up, I was in a relationship, so it was like that. I think that's the reason why I won't put that tree up. Maybe I should get a new tree. Because that tree brings back memories.
Yeah, you don't need those memories.
And plus, Smokey has an ornament on that tree.
Oh, but that's a good memory though. Like, you can keep that one.
But the bad part of that tree is we bought that tree. We shopped and got everything for that tree together, and it was my first tree.
Yeah, no. That tree's got to go. We got to get a new one. Get you a rainbow tree or something fresh. They've got all kinds of trees nowadays.
I would really love to be. Speaking of rainbow trees, I'm gonna tell you, if I can find this article, we have to post it. There's an article that had me laughing. Since we're talking about trees and Christmas, had me laughing in the middle of the night, where this woman purchased a rainbow Christmas tree from Wish. And let me tell you, her recording of it, I was in bed at 3:00 in the morning in tears. My stomach was cramping because her review of the Christmas tree coming from Wish was hilarious. And we're going to try to find that because it's about her laughing. She's laughing at herself, and her laugh is contagious. And the tree is horrible. What they show you, what she thought she was getting, she did not get. She had got a Charlie Brown rainbow Christmas tree. It was hilarious. So we have to find that. We have to find that clip and show you guys. But I always pictured myself being that lady that keeps the Christmas tree, up, but changes it throughout the seasons.
Yeah. Like you even probably like Halloween tree. Yeah,
yes.
I've seen those. Those are cool.
Valentine's Day tree, St. Patrick's Day tree, patriotic
in reality,
tree.
You're just too lazy to take down the tree is what that is. It's just too lazy.
I mean, if that's what you want to call it.
You need to get you a tree and put you all them sexy men ornaments on it. Have you seen those? The little mermaids?
Yes. That I have. Well, we won't talk about that. That's an ornament that I have too.
Yeah. And you have some special things coming up in November.
I do.
You have one of your annual things.
I do. We are. I think this is officially this is the second annual Hunks and Pumps. It would actually be 3, but the first one again was. How it all started was me doing a pageant, and we raised money. So the first one actually started off with you and that group of guys that we started raising money for organizations. So second annual Hunks and Pumps is November 23rd at Play. So I'm super excited about that. And Anya Peart's coming back. Some of the guys you'll probably see again, and then I got some new guys. I've got a secret celebrity guest that may do it. Actually, 2. That's from 2 different news stations. So
that's awesome. I think it'll be a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun last year. I will not be performing this year. I will tell you that up front, everyone.
Yeah.
But I will be there, and I will help you in whatever capacity outside of walking around in heels. So
yeah, well, I've already assigned you to backstage help. So
yeah,
we got to figure out.
I'll be pushing them on stage.
Since you got robbed calculating money last year, we're gonna have you calculating. We're gonna put you in charge of the money this year since you got robbed.
What are we raising funds for this year? I know it's kind of different every year. So
yes, each year it's a fundraiser, but we turn it into like a pageant. So at the end of the night, the hunk who makes the most money actually becomes Hunks and Pumps for the year, and they get a crown and sash. Not only do they get a crown and sash, they get to pick their organization for the next year to raise who we raise money for. So this year, Anya Period chose the Amirage Selling Trans Champion Endowed Scholarship Award.
Right.
So,
and that's with the Kent School of Social Work. Because she was actually the first one to ever walk, first transgender to ever walk with the school banner. And so she's made a big impact at U of L. She passed away, and they created that scholarship. So that's a great thing to raise money for, and I'm looking forward to seeing if we beat the last year, which was. What was it? Nearly over $7,000.
$7,000. Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see that.
Yeah.
Anything else exciting and fresh going on?
I think that's it. That's coming up. Of course, I'll be hosting Drag Queens on Ice again, December 4th. That's Kentuckiana Pride fundraiser over at Paristown Ice Skating Ring. So I'll be doing that again. I'm excited about that. This year I will actually skate.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Last year I did. Last year I didn't skate. This year I will be skating. So,
I'll believe that when I see it.
That's it for me. Like that's coming up. I'm looking forward to the holidays. I'm looking forward to this 2023. So. To see what it brings. What about you? Like, what things do you have coming up? I'm
going to most of the things you just mentioned. So those are all on my calendar. I'm really excited for January because Pauly Shore is coming to Louisville, and I'm like obsessed with Pauly Shore movies like Son-in-Law and all those. So I think that'll be a lot of fun to go see him perform. And then we have several episodes coming out that were sponsored by Just Fun Kentucky. So that is also exciting because we've been reaching out to several people for those. And they will be released as we go in early 2023. I believe there's 8 more of those to go. And then Christmas parties, of course, so many Christmas parties. And of course, there's an annual one in Louisville that 2 guys host, and you may hear from them on a later show in December. So,
I think I'm performing at that one.
I believe you performed at that one before. I believe, haven't you?
Every year. Yeah.
So lots of things going on. I'm excited to honestly just get back to our regular scheduled activities here with Weathering Rainbows. Like I said, 2 months was a long break, and we apologize for those that have asked. And I know I've had several people writing and asking, hey, what happened to y'all? Well, we're alive and well. I did have some health issues throughout October that kept me from really doing much of anything. But those are better now. So we're good to go.
Well, we're glad you're feeling better. So excited, happy about that. I want to go back to Pauly Shore because I used to be obsessed with him. I used to watch the movies just to watch his package because he always had a big bulge. And I was like, God, I picture this man because he's like Jersey. He's a Jersey.
I'm not sure where he's from.
Well, wherever he's from, he probably either got big balls or a big package. Because in those movies, he's always I'm like, wow. And
he does wear those farm boy pants and stuff.
Yes,
different ones.
Yes. Well, and he's such a funny actor. So I used to watch all his
Son-in-Law
movies.
and Biodome was just
Biodome.
hilarious.
Yes, that's
I love it.
Biodome was that was the one I liked. I used to watch that one. Yeah.
He had one on Netflix that came out, I think, in 2020. And like Jane, I can't remember what it was called, but it's really funny too. So if you haven't seen Pauly Shore, go watch all those movies because they're amazing.
Yeah. Has he aged though? Does he look the same or?
He's definitely showing his age.
Okay.
But he's still as funny as he used to be. He was in the last movie. He's just wild. Like you never know what you're going to get from him. I feel like
I used to have sexual fantasies about him, and then Dane Cook. Dane Cook?
I could see Dane Cook being at that, but I can't see Pauly Shore as a sexual fantasy. I don't know. That's a new one.
As a teenager growing up. Go ahead.
I always get Pauly Shore, and like if you put Pauly Shore next to Richard Simmons, I would almost get them confused sometimes as like a kid. So I'd be like, "Oh, it's Pauly Shore," and then it'd be like a "Sweat It Out," you know?
Yeah. He was. Him and Dane were some of my really good teen masturbating moments.
Oh, Lord. On that note, let's move on from Pauly Shore. We're going to move in. She's back, everyone. She is back. Me having to edit all the bad content of things that she says. All right. We are going to hop into the interview, though. Today's interview is going to be with Tori WhoDat, who is a musician that's performed at Louisville Pride and various other prides. She's performed with a host of major celebrities as an opener, kind of a rap artist, used to be a Christian artist, but now more into like the rap and hip hop type of vibe. And I'm sure she'll be performing in a pride that's probably near you every year for the next like 5 years. So check her out. Check out this interview. We will be back, and our openers will probably be more structured. We'll have some fun games and stuff in the next few episodes that I've got planned. So stay tuned. Howdy, y'all, and welcome back to Weathering Rainbows podcast. Tonight we have a very special guest. We know how much you all loved all of our musical guests from last season, so we definitely wanted a musical guest for this season. And tonight we have one from Tennessee, so next door to us, and that is Tori WhoDat. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, Tori?
Well, technically, thank you, first of all, for having me on the podcast. You all are wonderful, and I appreciate, your patience with us getting this scheduled. But I go by Tori WhoDat, and technically I am from New Orleans. Okay. That's where hence the WhoDat. Yeah. But that's originally from New Orleans. Got a lot of family down there. And moved to Memphis when I was younger, and I love Memphis. Memphis has molded so much of who I am, and I rep Memphis. That's where I live now and where I've been for a while. But I did spend some time in Baltimore and Chicago during my high school years. So, been fortunate to be in different cities that. I've said it a lot, but, I have such cultural influence and, helped, shape, so much of who I've become. If you look at kind of, my early life and upbringing and, my family, and who I am, it's very different. But
let's talk about that. I love New Orleans, so anywhere around that area, that's where I want to live, honestly, still today. But so tell us about growing up there.
Well, I didn't fully grow up in New Orleans. I was there until I was like 6 years old or so, and then we moved to Memphis. So that's why, I still rep Memphis. I mean, New Orleans, because I've 30 plus cousins down there, and we're I spent many summers. That was a big family, so we didn't really go on a whole lot of like expensive vacations or anything like that. our vacations were going down to New Orleans to see family. So I spent a lot of time there. Even when we lived in Memphis, it was only, less than 6 hours. So we spent a lot of time down there. But I feel you on that. I love New Orleans. I love everything about it. I love the food. My favorite restaurant's Deanie's. For my early 20s, I would go every birthday. I would go drive down there at least to go eat at Deanie's.
Yeah.
That's how much I loved it. So
everything is good down there. The food's delicious. Yeah. I don't know. Anybody that hasn't been there needs to go because it's my favorite place probably on earth. So
yeah. See, I knew I loved you already.
Yeah. So let's talk about your upbringing. When did you kind of know about your sexuality? And when did you kind of start telling family?
They say hindsight's 20/20. You looking back, like I knew really early. I was that kid on the playground that I was chasing the boys around, but I had a little crush on my best friend. So I knew early on. In high school, I was leading the dance team and the drama team, and at church, at youth group, I was in accountability groups, and fully immersed in church, but falling in love with my best friend. That was my high school story. I was dating third and state wrestler, the guy, but I loved my best friend. So it was a lot of confliction, during that time, knowing, early on that I was definitely really, 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 really gay.
Right.
But, growing up in a family and being around people that mocked that and didn't understand it at all. And, obviously instilled a lot of fear in me. I was that kid that always wanted to make mom and dad proud. I wanted to, I was a people pleaser from very early age. So I just didn't want to disappoint anybody. Like I used to tell people that I was going to wait until certain people in my family weren't here anymore to come out. Like that's how strongly I was in the closet, if you will.
And I know you grew up religious, and that's kind of how you started your singing career, was in the church. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, when I was in the church, it was very heartfelt for me. I began to recognize the hypocrisy and all of the contradictions that were, happening within that Christian evangelical culture. But it was very heartfelt for me. Like I meant what I was saying and what I was preaching, if you will. If I don't know if any of my old I went by Victorious. I was a Christian rapper, and I don't know if any of that music still lives online, to be honest. I have CDs and t-shirts somewhere, but it was all very heartfelt even in that time. It's kind of hard. I can't really listen to that. I couldn't just put that CD and just listen, and it would evoke a lot of feelings. But honestly, but no, I know that throughout that time, my heart was in the right place. I wasn't that Christian that was walking around slamming the Bible on people's heads. I definitely probably said plenty of things that I would cringe at now. I'm so, I always say I love this generation, but gosh, if things that I thought early on lived online, I'd be so ashamed. I'd be so ashamed. But it was a combination of a lot of things, and not all my fault. So, I recognize that now, but it was definitely tough then.
So at what age did you finally kind of reach that breaking point and say, I've got to let people know?
It was right a month after I graduated high school. I moved I lived in Chicago. I moved from Chicago back to Memphis. And at that time, I was secretly in a relationship with my best friend. We didn't really talk about it. Like looking back now, I'm like, how'd it go on that long? And we just like never really acknowledged like that we were together. Like we were that was like, we were more than just friends. But I remember I moved to Memphis, and she was still in Chicago. And one night I was on the phone with her, and it just hit me. Like, I just had to say it out loud. And I was just like, I'm gay.
Yeah. It's a big moment.
And I don't remember her response, but I was like, it was the first time. And that was like years into this relationship, really, that I finally said I'm gay. But it took still a couple years after that, before I came out to my family. And it was like kind of forced out, it was the elephant in the room for a long time.
Yeah.
And my parents did ask me in high school, they sat me down and they asked if my relationship with this particular friend had gotten, quote, inappropriate.
Oh, wow.
And I did not think it was inappropriate, of course. So I didn't lie. I just said no, not at all. It's not inappropriate. But it wasn't, until, a couple years later, that I actually, said it to them. And my mom said, extremely hurtful, things. My dad, my mom essentially said that I was sick and, quote, disgusting and needed help and didn't want me around,
wow,
her family. And so for about 6 months, I wasn't allowed at my parents' house. And so I had younger siblings at the time that, my parents sat them down, and I basically told them that I was going to hell and that I was lost. And mind you, like, I was like the most straight edge. I didn't drink.
Yeah.
Like, I still don't, like, I was never gave them a reason to say those things about me. Like, I was always the peacemaker in the family, but they still, just couldn't handle that. Yeah. And my dad secretly took me to lunch. If you're listening, my dad actually secretly took me to lunch, during that time. He, said that, nothing was more important than, his relationship with his daughter. And,
that's amazing that he did that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it was amazing at the time. I'm not going to give him too much credit because he's since, I'm actually don't talk to my parents at all at this point. In October of 2021, my younger sibling turned 18, and on their 18th birthday, we actually gave my parents an ultimatum about, some things. So right now we don't really talk.
Parted ways. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been the best for everyone.
How's sibling wise? How did they take the news?
Early on, none of them took it well.
Yeah.
Besides one of my brothers. I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters. But one of them wasn't vocally against. Well, 2 of them weren't really vocally against it. But since then, they've all come around.
That's great.
And to the point where they're all allies now.
Yeah.
Not even just nonchalant, like it is what it is. They're all allies and have stuck up for me in different scenarios. And it's wild, just to know where we came from. My parents both have, positive attributes about them. Like, they weren't all bad, but for all of us to come up this way, the way that we did, and to be in this place now is really, really awesome.
Yeah, I think that's amazing that your siblings have at least come around and I'm sorry that you had to go through that. It's I think, a very common experience for a lot of us that grew up in religious homes, that we've, at one point or time and another, we've been outcast, and we've had to kind of work our way back in. And a lot of times I think it's true that we all overachieve because we kind of overcompensate in other areas because we're afraid that we're going to be rejected once we come out.
And we've internalized that shame.
Exactly.
We've internalized that shame. Yeah.
So
it's
at
tough.
what point did you feel comfortable enough to start branching into away from the church music and more into the musical career that you have now?
There was a break when I moved from Memphis. Moved from Chicago to Memphis. So when I was in Chicago is when I had the, Christian rap career, if you will, as victorious. Yeah. And then when I moved to Memphis, I felt like, I was really getting to that point where I was feeling super, super conflicted. Homosexuality wasn't like a huge talking point in the church that I was at in Chicago, but they didn't like it wasn't like something they preached about. We just didn't talk about it. But I knew I was coming to Memphis, and I just felt like it was an opportunity for me to reinvent myself and to explore this part of myself, because the confliction was just growing too much. I just couldn't deny it anymore. And so, really when I, moved to Memphis is when I started to, explore my sexuality and pursue, relationships with women and break away from, I didn't find a home church,
right.
When I came to Memphis. Just through, meeting new groups of people that I wouldn't have normally been hanging around. Slowly got into the music scene, but I didn't start like my music as Tori WhoDat until I was 22.
Yeah.
Like I didn't start really writing music like that until I was 22. So I think that was like almost 4 years of me really just trying to figure myself out. I was still writing, but it wasn't really coming out as like complete songs. Like I just felt like there was so much coming out of me because I was bottled up for so long that, my focus wasn't really even like, I want to make music. It was just like, I don't know who I am apart from, who I was in the church. And, I was going to go to seminary.
Wow.
Like I was literally going to go to seminary after high school. Like, and I made a decision, like, to go to move my dad was moving to Memphis for a job, and just the timing of everything. I was like, I can stay in Chicago, and I was going to go to Trinity International University, so a little bit outside Chicago, but I could stay here, I could do this, or I can move back to Memphis in a place that's kind of familiar, because I lived there when I was younger, but I wasn't, I was like, I moved away from Memphis in the middle of my middle school year. So I was middle 7th grade. So, it was just an opportunity that I saw, like, I can't miss this, like, because I can't just keep going on this trajectory. This doesn't feel right. My heart just didn't feel like I was really walking in my purpose,
And I think that's when some of the best music out there comes from whenever you're going through those time periods in your life. That's some of the best written songs that you can dream up. I know you performed at many different Pride events. You've opened for a long list of really awesome musicians. Can you toss out some people that you've been able to open for over the years?
Dude, I have been so blessed by relationships in my life. And I've had huge opportunities to open for Ruby Rose, B.O.B., Juicy J, Machine Gun Kelly, Somo, Al Capone. I got the opportunity to be on the Take Me to the River tour with some Stax soul legends. Just incredible opportunities. Performed at the Apollo Theater, Sundance Festival. Flo Rida.
Yeah. I mean, you've performed with some of the like most well-known out there. I mean, Machine Gun Kelly, I was just talking to my friend the other day about his concert and just blown away.
He's incredible. That was actually probably one of the best shows I've ever had. His crowd, his fans are like the type that will ride or die with him through anything. And as an opener on his show, they just took me in, and that was by far. I remember I woke up the next morning and I had like 400 new Instagram followers, and it was like
it was great.
Wild. It was great.
So what is that moment like? Like you're coming on stage. What's that like feel like? Do you get a rush of emotion or?
Yeah, it's crazy. Is like afterward, it feels like I usually come off and I have a migraine within like a half hour. It's almost like clockwork, and that it's just I never really know. I mean, I'll hydrate, I'll do anything, but I've learned it's just the adrenaline rush. Like it's so intense, and especially the way I perform. Like I always tell people, you can't just like listen to my songs. You have to come to a show. It's a completely different experience, especially for an artist like me, because I'm going to give you everything. And that's how I've had artists ask me like, how'd you get on these shows? How'd you open? Because the people that put on these shows know from somehow word of mouth, whatever, that if I'm on a show, it doesn't matter if you put me first, if you put me right before, I'm going to give the energy to the room. And that comes from just caring about, that experience so much for, me walking in my purpose, but also for the people that, are coming to, support and be a part of that. And that connection is unlike anything else I've ever experienced in my life. By far. And I've crowd surfed a number of times in my life, and that is exhilarating.
Well, that's probably why you have a migraine. Somebody's probably like accidentally.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. I almost hit the ground one time. Gosh. One of my craziest shows was opening for B.O.B. It was my first radio show for Kiss FM. Shout out Kobe and Brody. They put me in a position. They actually played me on iHeartRadio. I was like the only indie artist in rotation at the time. Completely put me in these positions that like at the time I really didn't feel like I deserved, but they just believed in me. And so I went to that show, gave it everything I had. It had smoke machines, and I guess my lungs weren't used to it. I ended up vomiting on stage.
Oh my goodness.
In the middle of one of my biggest songs.
Like,
okay, there's footage of this too, right? I've never put it out, but there's footage of this. Yeah, I'll send it to you. I'll send you the clip. I vomited on stage, okay, middle of one of my biggest songs at the time.
Wow.
It was the one show that they actually like gave me what I asked for on my rider. So I had a towel on stage, and my DJ, my shout out space page, my DJ knows, don't stop. Don't stop. So she kept it going. I went over there, wiped my mouth, picked up my mic in time to finish the song. And afterward, and this is the song, this was Credentials. It was like the song that like I crowd surfed every show that I could. If the crowd was big enough and I see enough people that could hold me, I'm jumping. But then this one, I just vomited on stage. I'm thinking, of course, these people are not going to let me crowd surf. So I was like, and this was right after Justin Bieber fell off stage at some concert. So I was like, man, everybody says I look like Biebs. I had to pull Biebs and do something up here that was radical. Y'all probably don't want me to crowd surf now. And then I hear,
oh my goodness.
They start chanting. So I'm like, I gotta do it now. So I jumped in the crowd, and this was B.O.B. Like people were coming. So it was like a bunch of Chads and like little girls. And my head was so close to the ground. And somebody caught me. My head was so close to the ground. That show was wild. I felt
that's
like a rock
incredible.
star.
I mean, clearly that's why people love you, is because of how much you perform and hype up all the audience. I mean, that's why you're an opener.
It was awesome.
That's great.
It was
so
awesome.
How has the LGBTQ community specifically embraced you with your music?
You know, it was something that initially, I'll be honest, I kind of had to like really fight for. I really, you know, you would expect, and let me say this, I have been so blessed with so many opportunities to perform for amazing Pride events all across Atlanta Pride, Pensacola Pride, 4 years I did Pensacola Pride, you know, Capital Pride, you know, Mid-South Pride for several years in a row, like I think 7 or 8 years straight, all over. And I'm so grateful for all the opportunities I've been given. But with that being said, early on, it was tough. Like I would sit and email any Pride organizer I could. I mean, I'd spend hours. I'd find this was like early ages of social media. I would find any way I could contact these people and try and get on events. And that's really why I got a lot of opportunities early. But there was a lot of people that just ignored me, and I'd watch them book artists, headliners that were not LGBTQ plus in any capacity, like not even really strong allies, like just, and it was frustrating. But you know, it's like that in any, you know, anything in the music industry, you know, you're always fighting for your spot. And me in particular, and like every aspect of my life, I'm kind of, you know, making my space, you know, creating my space. So, you know, you wouldn't want to think that that's how the community is, but there are, you know, spaces that aren't so easy to get into.
I could say,
you know what I mean?
I could see the change over the past few years of them trying to actually get more LGBTQ artists on those stages.
Yes.
But I'd say, you know, 10 years ago, most of the performers were not on the stages. So I completely see that. We have a segment on this show called the Do's and Don'ts. It's where you get to give some advice to all of our listeners, and it can be on any topic of your choosing. So 3 do's and 3 don'ts. What have you got for us?
Oh, geez, I should have prepared this. Oh no. 3 do's.
And it could even be like something specific, like 3 do's and don'ts before going on stage to perform, or like, you know, like I know like Shawn Mendes, his big thing is like he has to go pee like 10 times before he goes on stage. So like I know there's weird things like that.
Oh, yeah. Geez. I'm just gonna say in general.
Okay.
I'm just saying in general. Be grateful.
Yeah.
I think just like in all things, just, you know, be grateful. Focus on what matters. I think that there's so many distractions, especially in this age of social media and, you know, all the information that we have access to, and, you know, all the things that can make you feel less than and can cause you to compare and all the above. Just focus on what matters. So be grateful, focus on what matters. And it may sound cliche, but I think it kind of encompasses a lot. And I think stay true to yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's, you know, I think for a long time in my life, I was true to myself in certain ways, but I lost sight of what really mattered. And I stopped taking care of, you know, the parts of myself that, you know, were allowing me to keep moving forward. You know, I was just giving. And, you know, staying true to yourself is also about taking care of yourself and loving yourself. So yeah, I think those are the 3 do's. Can I cuss on this show?
Yeah.
Don't be an asshole.
That is a great one. Yeah.
Don't be an asshole. Like, it's really that simple, you know?
Yep.
And on the other side, be kind. Just be nice. So don't be an asshole. Don't take anything for granted. Right before the pandemic started and quarantine started, my last big show was March of 2020 at the grand opening of the Moxie Hotel in downtown Memphis. It was a huge opportunity. They gave me a 2-hour set, which was like the longest set I've ever had. And I was so anxious before that show. I was sick, which happened a lot in my career, but because I care so much, but I was so anxious. I was so anxious and nervous, but I had a moment with myself. They gave me a room there too, which was nice. Shout out Kurtis. Oh, Kurtis. Oh my God, his name's Kurtis.
Yeah.
And he gave me a room and I just had a moment and I'm sitting there and it's so cool. It's like a super Moxie hotels are awesome, by the way. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, wow, I'm here. Like,
yeah, you made
this is so cool. Like somebody spent all this money on this hotel and this establishment and this business and this place and the who's who of Memphis. They're going to be here. And they thought of me to perform for 2 hours. Like I'm mostly a hip hop artist. Okay. Like I sing, I've started singing a little bit, but I rap. And when I rap, I rap. Like I sing sweet and I'm a really nice person, but when I rap, it's intense. And I'm like, this is like there's going to be like people with cocktails and stuff and they want me. And that just like, I was like, man, I can't miss this opportunity. Like I have to be present. I have to be here. And afterward, it was like literally days later that everything popped off and everything was shutting down. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, I was just in this crowded room of people.
Right. Yeah.
But we didn't really know what was going on at the time. But besides that, I was just like, wow, if that's the way I go out, that was awesome. That was awesome. So yeah, don't take anything for granted. The third one, I think, would be don't lie.
It's a good one.
And that's like to yourself or to anyone else.
Yeah.
And I think that's the stay true to yourself. Like, don't lie. You know, just be honest with people. And you know, be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, to tell the truth is to be really vulnerable. But it's the only way to be who you want to be within yourself. And it's the only way to like make this world better. You know, we have to be honest with ourselves. So don't lie to yourself or anyone else.
I think that is all great advice. I want to go back because you talked a little bit about it. Let's talk about the transition period of COVID. Obviously that affected musical artists and entertainers far more than most professions because of the concerts and you can't have so many people in a room, those kind of things. How did your life change during that point? And what kind of did you transition into?
I was actually super, super blessed to be an artist that I have other things going on outside of my music. And I was for a decade, I was in property management. And during the pandemic, I was already in a manager position at a community. So we just locked the doors and I worked through it. So I was super blessed to have never, missed a paycheck during that time at all. Yeah. But my girlfriend wasn't as fortunate and, we lived together and, I went into this mode of like, I have to do something more. I don't have extra income from music, I felt immediately like uninspired to release music. Like it was not just because of COVID, but because of like things that were happening, as far as like George Floyd was, May of that year. I turned 30 and I was thinking this is going to be like the transition. Everybody tells me when you turn 30, you stop giving a shit about what anyone thinks. And I was like, great, I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
And then that hit and it was like the world turned upside down. You know what I mean? So I just felt immediately like I was planning on releasing a song, Heather Gray, which I ended up dropping later instead. I just didn't want to put, I was like, I don't want to talk right now. I just need to focus on like how I'm going to get through this and how I'm going to help the people I love get through this. And so I went into grind mode, and I had already been dabbling in learning about real estate, and like I didn't necessarily want to be a realtor, but my experience in property management taught me that the people that are in positions of influence in that industry are greedy. It's profit over people. And I got sick of being in positions where I could not change that. At a certain level, I was doing what I could, whatever property I worked at, my residents were happy. Yeah. But I recognized that like my hands were tied in so many situations. Like I shouldn't have to fake that, Miss Pat's cat died so that I can offset the cost of her increase and remove her pet rent. You know what I mean? Like that kind of Robin Hood type. I don't need to be doing this. Like we just need to do things that make sense for people.
Yeah.
There's a way to make money and to take care of people. Let's just do the right thing. And so I recognize that, as much as like I'm going to be stepping into a world full of really crappy people, like I can be a light in a dark place here, and I can do really great things. So I found a mentor who did a lot of wholesale real estate and had her own properties and was just really well versed, and started learning from her. And it was like right at the end of like my initial training phase with her was when COVID and the pandemic really kicked off. And it was really a sign to me, like I had to hit the ground running with this. So I did. And in the first few months, I did well enough to like put my girlfriend and I in a position where we were comfortable.
That's
good.
Good.
Through that time. So, it was not really like a typical, I guess, a lot of artists really went hard into like writing, and they, went into quarantine, and I never really got that time. Like my life just resumed as it was. And then I added a different type of work on top because it was just, what I needed to focus on at the time. It's what mattered.
Yeah. I mean, that goes back to your advice, focus on what matters. And I mean, that's what you did clearly. I know you did release Heather Gray. I've listened to several of your songs, Thru My City, Money, all those. And I like your music.
Thank you.
I'm typically not into rap, but I really enjoy most of your music. So people that aren't into rap, go listen because you might like it. So
thank you.
Where do you, I know you write most of these songs yourself.
Yeah.
And so where do you get your inspiration from? Like, what's your writing zone?
First of all, thank you so much, because I really appreciate that. My music is a smorgasbord. I've always told people, like, if you don't like one song, just listen to the next one. You might like that one. And that's really been like my goal as an artist, is to show my evolution. Like if you go back and listen to my early stuff, I mean, it's bad. Like, if you really, break it down, like it's not, I mean, I was just really, it was raw. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't ask anybody. Like I was just giving my heart, and it worked out. The right people heard it. And then I started getting around, creatives that really polished, my sound. Like I remember, like, I did not think I could sing at all. Like, that wasn't even an option. I was just rapping. I was like, there's no way. And then the first project, when I got in a studio, my engineer, like, I was like, told him, I was like, I wrote this hook. I want somebody to sing it. I'm going to try and just sing it how I want to. And then if you could just like fix it and make it sound the way I'm thinking I want it to sound, and then we can show somebody and have them sing it. So like I wrote it, but I wanted someone else to sing it. And so I sang it, and I came out the booth, and he was like, sit down. I was like, okay. He sat down and he played it, and I was like, damn, that sounds good. I was like, what'd you do? How do you do that? How do you make it sound that good? And he said, that's your raw vocals.
Wow. So you blew yourself away.
I don't sound like that. I don't sound like that. And he was like, no, literally. I just added this one little effect. He took the effect off. And I was like, wait, that's the raw vocal. That still sounds good. Yeah, he was like, that was just a little, I'm telling you, you can sing this hook. And so I sang that hook, and it still took me a little while. Like I wasn't regularly like singing, but I think Love the Way was the first time that's my biggest song to date. And that song was like I had people calling me like, cause it hit the radio in Memphis, like Memphis radio station started playing it, and people were calling me like, is that you singing? And I'm like, yeah, it is. Like I did that. It was such a wild experience because, you know, I was just the rapper, you know, and so I proved a lot to myself. But, you know, like inspiration, like if you listen to my music, like I said, it's a smorgasbord. It comes from like whatever I'm experiencing at that point in my life. So, you know, my different projects, like I was in the era of mixtapes. So like I had a Southern Smoke mixtape.
That's
which
awesome.
If you're in hip hop, it's like, you know, Southern Smoke mixtape. Like that was, you know, that was a big deal. So I was in the era of mixtapes, and a lot of that stuff, it wasn't meant to be, you know, perfectly polished.
Yeah.
It was hip hop. It was raw, you know? So that's really what I came from. And, that was my early inspiration, was just like telling my story in the most raw and authentic way possible. And, I'm still that way, but I started to get around creatives that challenged me, you know, to, you know, write from different perspectives, or to, try different things with my voice.
Yeah.
Like, I've got songs right now that when people hear, I can't wait. But, yeah, it's just putting yourself around the right people in the right situations.
Yeah. So I know the music industry is kind of changing in general, in the way that TikTok has blown up, and people seem to be releasing more singles than albums. How do you feel about all of that?
I think it's awesome. I think that when you're resistant to change, you get left behind.
Yeah.
And like the world's going to move, and it's moving. I'm someone, like, I literally don't own a TV.
Okay.
And that's a problem. I need to get a TV soon. I need to get an Oculus. I need to get on board, because you're going to get left behind. Like I just got an Apple Watch recently, because I'm like, I need to start learning how to look at small screens
right.
and stuff. You know, you know, it's just like little things like that. Like, you know, Web3. You know, NFTs. I'm not into crypto. I'm not into all that, but it's not going anywhere.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, NFTs in particular, like I really you know, I'm someone who's not in that space yet, but I am fully aware that it is the space to be.
Yeah.
And, maybe not for the, you know, average person right now, but it's going to come quicker than social media took over. And so, yeah, I mean, the industry, I mean, there's more songs being released to Spotify and to streaming platforms like every day.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a home studio set up. You know, there's ridiculously talented people everywhere. TikTok has proven that tenfold. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, I think that it's all great. There's just like social media. I mean, people found ways to villainize, you know, MySpace, and, you know, LimeWire was the devil, and, you know, all these things that really became revolutionary were once, you know, not so good. Right. So I'm just that person that's like, always wanting just to move forward. And that's a big reason why I haven't really released much as Tori WhoDat in quite some time. I've been in this huge, like this phase of like reinventing myself, like on a whole lot of levels. But when it comes to putting out music, it's not cheap. If you're doing it right. It's not cheap. Not in the sense of financially or like the energy that you're expending in that process, especially because people's attention spans like that small.
Yep.
So, you know, it's so different now. And I care way too much about the music that I have right now. Like these songs are really, really special to me. And I don't want to waste that moment. So for me, I'd rather wait and do it right than rush and regret it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think we definitely have to stay with the times. Even doing what we're doing with you know, our video podcasts and stuff, this was not available a few years ago. Like it's totally changed the game in terms of like we can reach out to anybody even across seas and have them on our show as long as everybody's in tune with the right equipment and stuff. So everything is constantly growing, especially in the music industry right now. So we do another segment on this show. If you have one, we do a segment called the Heap of Trouble. And what that is it's a time to tell kind of a funny story about something that's happened to you in LGBTQ world.
I don't really get embarrassed about it. I'm so used to making a fool out of myself.
I mean, I will say you did puke on stage and just keep going. So I would be
okay, there we go. That's my story. I already told it. See, I'm shameless.
I think that's totally fine. That was a good story.
And hey, let me go ahead and say something. Let me get really vulnerable. Okay. To all my people out there with IBS. Okay.
That you are one of several guests now.
Listen, that ruled my life for a long time. Okay.
Wow.
And I've my stomach still has its days, but I've got it under control for the most part. But it definitely made for a lot of interesting pre-show moments.
Gosh.
Anxiety just makes it aggravates it quite a bit. And man, I can't tell you, everybody knew, like I've never been like pre-show. I don't want a bunch of people around me. I need my space. I need access to a bathroom. I need to make sure that right before I go on stage, I'm going to be able to go so that I can do my thing.
Hear that.
So there's my vulnerable moment. There's my because I'm telling you, it's like even like pride festivals, like backstage at the porta potties with the drag queens. I'm like, ladies, move over. I need that.
Love it.
I'll say this. There was one time Pensacola Pride. This was like in the early phases of like when like social media influencers, like people really started to, you know, get their rise. And there was this one bathroom like that I could go to before, like there was no performer bathrooms or anything like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, on the beach, it's hot. I'm stressed. There's 3,000 lesbians out here. I am stressed, people. I gotta go to the bathroom. And I had to go to right before I'm talking like 10 minutes before I go on stage. I was like, I gotta go. I gotta get this out because I'm about to perform for an hour and this is serious. So I went to the front of the line. And of course, the front of the line, the people next to go were like the it lesbians at the time.
Oh,
like
goodness.
they were like the girls. And I was like, yo, I'm about to perform. And they're like, oh yeah, you're the girl on the phone. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to perform. Can I please use the restroom real quick? Yeah.
Oh,
thank you. So they ended up, and then they were front row when I performed, and one of them gave me their GoPro.
Oh,
and that's the footage that I put at the end of the vlog that I did afterward.
That's awesome.
The performance. I put their footage at the end, and I was like, shout out to the girls. Let me use the restroom.
That is awesome.
Yeah. It's a lot of stories like
I
that.
love it. No, that's the perfect kind of stories. I do have to ask this question. is puking a rapper thing? Because like I haven't ever had any of our other musical guests be like, we puke on stage or like right before we go on stage. Like
I think I
get this 8 Mile vibe, like where he goes.
Yeah, I channeled my inner Eminem, my feminine.
Your feminine, I love it.
It was my feminine.
That is awesome.
Yeah, when I first bleached my hair, that's what everybody called me. But yeah, that's a rapper thing.
I love it.
It's our release. Verbal vomit.
Yeah. Well, we have one final segment on this show. It's called the Pot of Gold, which is a time where you get to ask me one question, anything under the sun, and I wrap it up with one final question to you. So I will let you ask a question.
I have to give my sister credit for this question. Because she recently told me that this is a question that she asks in interviews, and I thought it was really profound. So like people talk about the big moments in their lives, right? You know, the big moments that were just super meaningful or life-changing, but like where you felt like your best, right? What is a small moment in your life? It could be recent or like in the past, but what's a small moment where you felt either like really in your purpose or you just felt like you did something really special and maybe it was unnoticed or maybe someone ended up finding out, but what was like a moment that like you just want to share that meant a lot to you in some way?
I think I get a lot of my small moments through things that I do that nobody really knows about. I do a lot of my charity work that I really don't tell anyone. One moment that meant a lot to me, and I can tell this story now because it's past this competition, but I was recently in a competition called My Gay Online Boyfriend. And there were 10 other contestants, and one of those contestants is big into up and coming, wanting to do music and stuff like that. And he'd been working really hard to get a good mic. And being a podcast, we have mics, we have different things that we can use that we've used, that some of them, we don't use anymore, that sort of thing. And I told him, I said, well, how much does this mic like mean to you? Like if I was to give you a mic, is that all that's holding you back from releasing music? And he's like, yeah, that's really the only thing that I feel that's holding me back. I said, so you're not going to come up with some other excuse if I send you a mic. You're saying that this is all that's holding you back from releasing something on Spotify. And he was like, yeah, he said, I think that's the last thing. And so like I packed up a mic and I mailed it to him, and it's a really good mic. It's a Shure microphone. Those are some of the best in the game.
Wow. Yeah.
And he held up his end of the bargain. He put out music. And so he's continuously working on it.
That's awesome.
And that's something I've never told.
Kudos to you, Kurtis.
Like I've never told anyone that story. Like even the people that were on My Gay Online Boyfriend don't know that story. But it's just little things like that you got to figure out what can mean the most to people, and something that really, I didn't need an extra mic. I didn't need that in my life. That's something, but it meant so much to him. If you find the things that you're not using or don't need and find the right people, that's what creatives need. That's what the people out there need.
Yeah.
So that's what I, yeah.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. It's so important. And I really appreciate you doing that and sharing that, because there's so many incredible artists out there that just don't have the opportunity. There's so many, talented, pools of creatives that just don't have like the infrastructure around them or the access to things like that. And that's just awesome. So
equipment and stuff like that it's really hard whenever you're growing, especially for those that grow up poor like me. And, we didn't have it starting out. So you grow and the more you have access. And I keep telling a lot of people in the LGBTQ world, the more tech access, the more things like that, the more we're going to see as a culture and progress as a culture, get those to the younger people that need them. So, my question to you is also a hot seat interview question. What is the worst advice someone has ever given you, and how did you use it to make yourself better?
Pick a lane.
Okay.
Pick a lane, and in the same breath, nobody cares about your story.
Wow.
I was in the studio with somebody, very influential person. I gotta take a sip of this. me give you the tea.
I love it.
Okay. By the way, these things.
Oh, yes.
Sparkling ice. I just don't know what they put in them, but I'm happy about it. I was in the studio with this very influential person, and he was preparing to give me a lot of, open a lot of doors for me, and it was a big deal. And we were writing music, and I was going through a lot of things, like the people around me. And like I said before, my music is a reflection of me. It's bits of my story, and I'm going to be honest and raw. And, that particular night, the content was not so happy.
Yeah.
And he didn't like that. He said, Tori, people, some people, they don't even know your music, but they know you're just like a really sweet and nice person. Like, you're really positive and happy. And like, that's what people want from you. That's what people want. Like, nobody really cares about your story.
Wow.
And I was like, red flag.
And here
I said, that's actually,
I have to break there before you continue. And here we are, a Weathering Rainbows podcast, and that is our whole purpose, is to hear your story. So this
this was like 6-7 years ago. Right? And thank you. Exactly. But I told him right away, I said, that's exactly what got me here. Mm-hmm. That's why you're sitting next to me. Like, this important person, that's why you're sitting, because I told my story.
Yeah.
I said, it's not always going to be, and I was like, sometimes I'll make the poppy, fun music, bubblegum stuff that y'all want me to do. I can beebs it out for you. Cool, whatever. But I'm also going to give you like really raw, vulnerable moments, because that's what is going to allow me to connect with people. And I just, explain myself more than I should have at the time. He was like, no, you really need to pick a lane right now. You just need to pick a lane. And this positive stuff is really what's going to get you in the door.
Wow.
And I don't want to go in that room. Then I don't want to go in that room.
Yeah.
It's not for me. I'm going to be me. And I'd rather be me, who's still doing, have not picking a lane. I got my hands in other things, and I'm learning other things and doing other things. I'd rather be doing that than fit your mold and not be happy and not be myself and not be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not, there's another more talented singer, rapper, or, performer out there that you can, cookie cut, not me.
I think that's amazing. Yeah. The truth is always, and your story is always something that's going to speak volumes to people. That's what we do. And we get messages, every week from teens out there that listen to this show, thanking us because they don't always hear the stories. They see the LGBTQ influencers out there now that are singers and actors and the wonderful shows that are being produced on Netflix, but they've lost the actual story of those people. And that's what we need more and more of. So with that, I want to say thank you for sharing your story with us today. We've loved having you on the show. If y'all haven't heard her music, go listen to Tori WhoDat on Spotify or Apple Podcast or Apple or any of those kind of places. She has some amazing music out there. I am hoping, I'm going to pitch that they get you here for Kentuckiana Pride next year. I'm going to throw it out into the universe. So we'll see if we can get you here. So thank you, Tori. Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Don't forget to come on back now. I know we all love a little vibration, so if you're not already, go ahead and subscribe to this podcast. And we will surprise you on occasion with a new release vibration in your pocket. But in the meantime, if you find yourself alone or crossing new horizons along the Rainbow Trail, and you need a friend or even a laugh to get you through those dark and stormy nights, holler on out to us at www.weatheringrainbows.com, where you can find shelter in the blogs, videos, and other episodes that will hopefully keep you out of a whole heap of trouble. So until next time, y'all, giddy up, be true to yourself, and make the best of life. And wherever the wild tracks may lead you, may the rainbow always touch your shoulder.